Hey now.
Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts, and the Gurkha Cigar Studio in beautiful British Columbia. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Mitchell Santaga.
Here it goes. I'm going to do this. Buonasera! I heard that, so fuck off. All right? I heard all you guys over there. Buonasera, signori e signori, e benvenuti a un'altra puntata dello spettacolo. I already fucked that one up. Di Tabacco de Fumo in Italian. That is welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show, another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTobacco.com, and I'm joined by SmokinTobacco.com fellow associate, Mitchell Santaga. I'm in the J.C. Newman Cigar Studios, and Mitchell Santaga is in the Gurkha Cigar Studios in beautiful British Columbia. Smoking plain packaging tonight on his birthday. That's right. Shout out, happy birthday to Mitchell Santaga, who turned a mere 19 years old today. He's... pretty soon he'll be able to drink in the United States. No, I'm just kidding. Mitchell's 31. And I'll be 30 this year. So, and it's funny. People assume that I'm a lot older than Mitchell, that Mitchell's older than me. That's the hilarious part. But Mitchell, anyway, it's your birthday. How are you?
Doing wonderful. I'm glad to be here, puffing on a little Toscano cigars, sipping on a beautiful drink. It's wonderfully warm here. 25 degrees Celsius. Was that like 78, 79? It's perfect, you know. I couldn't be asking for a better birthday. I had a wonderful dinner last night at a beautiful restaurant and an awesome brunch as well. Had some pulled pork pancakes.
Oh, look at this. This is nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing this delightful treat all about your birthday, and it sounds like you had a hell of a birthday. I'll admit,
So far, so
I
good.
knew it was coming. I woke up this morning and I forgot. I had the water break scare. False alarm. Don't worry. So for a second there, I thought it was go time. But
Yep.
then after that fucking calmed
Any
down,
moment.
I'm like, oh shit, it's Mitchell's birthday.
Any moment.
I'm like, God damn it. I fucked that one up. I should have texted you right away. But no, it is a fantastic day. It's another pairing episode. We have actually two of these on the docket for the rest of the year. We have one tonight and another one, both of them Toscano with Michael Cappellini, who I'll bring on in a second. We'll be doing in the fall, I think October. So this is the first of the two. I think we may have done one or two of these recipes before in the drinks, but the cigars are different. Most notably, we're going to be talking about Toscano's new Master Age series. The 1, 2, and 3 debuted at the PCA 2022 trade show last year. And this year, a few weeks ago, we were all there, and Toscano unveiled their Master Age 4. So this is the Master Age 4. We're going to start with this one tonight, and then we're going to get into the next pairing, which we'll talk about later. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but really excited. It's going to be fun. Let's bring Michael on. He's no stranger to this show, and I love when he comes by and graces us with his presence because he's the man. There he is. There's Daddy Cap.
Well, you got a grade. You got a grade on the how did he do for the Italian speaking?
I did better before the show.
Well, here's the thing. If you just kind of flew through it and flowed with it, I would have given you an A. But I got to give you a B on that one.
Michael, don't be light on me. Give it,
And he said, no. I'm going to be honest with you. I was going to go ahead and I was going to actually go. Volevo parlare in italiano a fronte di tutte le gente stasera, però ne voglio fare una qualcosa scortese in un senso. I didn't want to do something mean to you and speak Italian in front of everybody like I just did.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind.
So,
That's why you're here.
No, you did good. You did good. Really and truly, you did good. And I want to thank you guys before we get started for always being so hospitable. Toscano's really happy to be part of the show. as always. And Matt, I'll give you your $20 later for giving me that wonderful compliment in the opening segment. So.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what we
happy
do.
birthday, Mitchell, by the way.
Thank you.
Why didn't we talk about this before the show? I didn't know.
I was surprised.
Yeah, I don't. I was more concerned with just getting the show on the road, and I was all wrapped up. And
I would have had a birthday cake for you and everything.
you know, it's been a wild day, as you both know. I went from being like, hey, this show might not happen, to like, never mind, we're good. So in like an hour. So I mean, I'm just happy we made it. And it's still gonna
Baby
go
time.
off. And hey, anytime, you know, we are in the red zone. Okay, it is a red zone time. So I don't know. Today it was an incomplete pass. You know, sometimes that happens. But next time it could be a touchdown.
You're not alone in that. I told you that this afternoon when you were talking to me about it. That happened to us too. We thought for sure it was game time, and it was not. And then Angelo came 3 days after? Yeah, 3 days after his due date. So.
Wow.
I was just hoping your baby would share my birthday. That's
Oh, that would have been neat.
Well, it's funny. Nicole's dad's birthday is tomorrow. So
there you go.
Him and
Maybe it's meant for that.
She and Grandpa might share a birthday. We still have time. You know, I don't know.
Still got time.
So that's possible too. A lot of August birthdays around us. So that's interesting. She'll definitely be added to the mix. I mean, she's gonna be here within the next 2 weeks, regardless. So we'll see. We'll see how it all unfolds. But anyway, we'll get back to the kids in a second. But I just want to make sure we get this show kicked off correctly. Let's talk about what we're smoking tonight first. Michael, I'm going to let you talk about the pairing, but we do also have our Cigars of the Night segment brought to you by none other than our favorite retailer. Come on, Michael. You know who it is. That's right. It's the number 2, GuysCigars.com. The Cigar Authority broadcasts live from where?
Salem.
Toscano Cigar Stage.
Wow, Michael, you just let yourself down.
Salem, New Hampshire. Toscano Cigar Stage. Come on.
Live from the Toscano Soundstage in Salem, New Hampshire. And I'm like, where does the Cigar Authority broadcast out? Oh, Salem. Oh yeah, just some hole in the wall.
R.I.P. Barry.
Fun being the brand ambassador, because if my company sees this, that's it. It's over. So,
well, you know what? I just got you back for shitting on me for my poor Italian, so now we're even. Oh, man. I'm sure Garofalo and the boys would love the ball busting during this segment. But we're brought to you by the number 2 GuysCigars.com. If you head over to the number 2 GuysCigars.com today, you can find an entire selection of Toscano cigars, as well as an amazing selection of all other cigars from the cigar industry, as well as cigar accessories. Head over there today and get some Toscano cigars at the number 2 GuysCigars.com. So we're going to be doing 2 pairings tonight. I'm going to let Michael take the lead on these, but I'm just going to kind of warm them up. The first one we're doing is Toscano's new Master Aged 4, as well as the Godfather cocktail. Mike, I'll let you build on that and explain more, while also maybe just give everyone just a light refresher on the Master Age collection and what it is, and all of that as well.
First and foremost, everybody out there, the initial first pairing was supposed to be the Aperol Spritz with Toscano Garibaldi, but Matt loves the Godfrey much that we started with it. And I'm actually, Matt, I got to tell you, buddy, I'm real happy that we did, because it's a perfect night. Like Mitchell said, here in Jessup, Pennsylvania, too, it's a gorgeous night. It's cool, but it's still warm enough if you want to go in the pool. It's unbelievable. Great
Not
night
humid.
for a cigar. Not humid, which, oh my goodness. We couldn't even take the baby out for like the first 2 weeks of his life, because it was 900 degrees with 300% humidity, and then the Canadian smoke from our friends up there.
Oh yeah, those people. Stay in your own yard. Jesus Christ.
I know, right?
Shut up.
We're just trying to burn down our whole country.
Honest to God, is that under control now? I know we're here to talk about cigars, but is that under control now?
It is smoke.
Not
so.
really. It just depends where the wind blows. Because if it slows down, it goes to you guys. But we still have a lot. My province is actually setting records still with the amount of forest fires. And then, yeah, the East Coast usually isn't this bad, but yeah, setting some records.
Well, it's
Yeah,
funny
it's
because
really not a joking matter.
there's
No,
also
it's intense.
there's also so there's wildfires in Canada where Mitchell is, and then the other member of the Smokin Tabacco team that doesn't share my last name, Kevin Acuff, who lives in Las Vegas. There's wildfires in Nevada right now, and I know I was talking to him on the phone the other day while he was driving home, and he was telling me how the smoke and the air quality was rough out there. So both of my guys live in areas where there's wildfires right now. So I'm just lucky to be safe where I am.
I don't know. Is this a curse match? Should I get off the call? I don't understand.
I don't know. We gotta be careful here, Mike. You know.
So currently, the last
Well-
update was a couple days ago, and we're at 379 active wildfires in my province alone.
My God.
Yeah. So it's really sad. I donate to wildfire relief funds every year. I do as much as I can because it's
It's devastating.
It's devastating, and most of the
Horrible.
people fighting these fires are, they're volunteers. They're, the local communities, and then they just need as much help as they can get. And we have fire bans. We just tell people. I think it's gotten, one of the things is like telling people don't smoke and throw your butts, throw whatever. Make sure you have a receptacle to allow your stuff to go out in. That's one of the biggest things is people driving and they'll throw a smoke out their window. They'll catch a little brush and it just goes. So same with people camping, all those kinds of things. But there are still also a lot naturally caused. But again, if we can decrease the amount of human caused fires, that would be amazing as well. So, yeah, just a little PSA there.
Hey,
Doesn't hurt.
I'm with you. Sorry.
And then it won't look apocalyptic in New York every year.
Yo, that was weird. That was real weird. That was a whole
Yep.
other conversation. So, all right. So anyway, back to Toscano. Just so you know, our prayers are with all you guys up in Canada, and we're always like, listen, it's a tough situation. So hopefully things kind of stabilize in the very near future. That being said, the Toscano Master Aged. As Matt said in the beginning, now see, you're jumping ahead here, Matt. Come on. Man.
I already know how the game works, and I love it. So I'm just, I get to enjoy.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Remind me to tell you a story about that.
I will.
Told it actually last. So anyway, the Master Age series. Last year we released the Master Age 1, 2, and 3. Okay, each having different blends of tobacco, which I'll get into real fast. But the whole point, there's two purposes to the Toscano Master Age. Number one, we call this the uber premium of Toscano cigars. Mostly because of the differential in the maturation. So the maturation process, which is 360 days post-roll, is controlled by one person, one gentleman, an affinatore, or the refiner of the Toscano tobacco, who goes in and checks the humidity and temperature every single day to ensure it's constant and proper. The blend of the Master Age number 1 is mostly Italian tobacco, so it's got an Italian wrapper from Valteverina Toscana with a 50-50 mixture of Valteverina Toscana tobacco and Kentucky Tennessee tobacco. The number 2 is a step up in body, so the number 2 is a little bit more American tobacco, so it's an American wrapper with Italian and American fill. The American tobacco coming from Kentucky, Tennessee, and the filler being Valteverina Toscano tobacco and American tobacco. And then the third of the Master Age is all American. It's all American tobacco from Kentucky, Tennessee. One thing I'll tell you for those who are on the show and those who will watch post the live show about Toscano tobacco is our tobacco comes from two places: Italy and the United States. 5 regions in Italy, from top to bottom: Veneto, Umbria, Toscana, Lazio, and Campania. And the tobacco that's grown and harvested in Italy is from Kentucky, Tennessee seed. So it's an American seed that was transplanted to the Italian peninsula for harvesting and growing. They could produce this really nice hybrid tobacco that is now, mass producer for the world, really, in tobacco, whether it be Toscano cigars, obviously, with all the wrapper tobacco and the medium and long fill tobacco that we use, but also different parts of the plant, of the Toscano plant, go to different parts of the industry, too, for all organic tobacco use.
Do you remember what year, that seed was transplanted from Kentucky?
So that's a good question that we get a lot. It was before Christopher Columbus was the very first plant that was brought to Italy from what is now Kentucky, Tennessee. The exact year is not 100% known because there wasn't great documentation, but it's in or around a couple years before Christopher Columbus's time, when they started to mass produce this hybrid tobacco and they transplanted the original seeds. So. But then there's also historians that think it might have even been before that. Just like with with world history, the more you research, the more cultivation that happens, the more studying of whatever the subject matter is, you start to find more and more information about it. So just like the tobacco industry, just like the proliferation of our culture, we tend to continue to grow. It's a living document, I always say. We tend to grow and continue to perfect and understand better the originality of where we come from, which then produces an even better product for today's consumer.
Awesome.
So now we have the Master Age number 4. The Master Age number 4 is a little bit different than the first 3 Master Ages. How is it? Thanks for asking the question, Matthew. I appreciate that. It's different because twofold. Number one, the body of the cigar. So, like the cigar itself, the composition of the cigar, it's a fatter ring gauge. Okay, where's my camera here? I always do that. I always go to the wrong side when I'm trying to show. Okay, and the ring gauge itself is a lot fatter, which really increases the smoke intensity. And then in addition to that, the wrapper of this particular cigar, of the Master Age number 4, is micro-fermented, which means that it's rapidly fermented at a higher temperature, which almost decreases the body of the cigar. And Matt, I'd like to get your input on this once I'm done explaining this. It kind of decreases the body of the cigar, but fully increases the complexity, meaning it's not as powerful on the palate, but the flavor profile is very complex, and it's very it really brings forward all of the characteristic tones of tobacco from Toscano that we look for, that Kentucky, Tennessee fire-cured tobacco. So I'm curious, Matt, as you're smoking it, what your thoughts are.
It's very good. I have to be honest with you. I'm really in my element. The drink's good. The cigar's good. They were really well together. I would agree with you. I mean, it's not a lot of strength to it. There's a little bit up front, but more on the finish. In my opinion, there's a lot more on the finish than there's up front. Up front, there's a little bit of spice note there. There's a little bit of some meaty body, not too much, but then the exhale goes out and the smoke leaves, and then it just kind of settles in, and there's a lot of flavor there, and it's very rich, leathery earth notes, and then the drink obviously being, there's bourbon whiskey in there, but there's also Di Serono, which brings that sweetness to it, so that real sweet aspect really balances out with it, so that together there's just this really smooth transition between smoke to drink, which I really enjoy. One of the things that I'm very picky, and I'll say this now just so that it kind of makes sense for anything else I might say going forward, but like, I know people who like to drink booze or whatever and or smoke with food. I'm one of those people where, like, when I eat food, I want to eat food and then drink like water or something basic, and then have my alcohol separately, unless it's like a steak dinner with red wine. That's different. But like, I can't drink cocktails while I'm eating, or I don't like to smoke while I'm eating. It's not for me. I like to focus on one thing on my palate at a time, and I know that there's people out there who think I'm crazy, and I know there's some that won't, but I like to like enjoy one thing at a time. So pairings for me, are not super common. I do enjoy them if they're right. And this is one of those pairings where, like, I'm so comfortable and the transition between the two doesn't get so, like, contrast that it's like one's outweighing the other, or that I really can just sit here and enjoy both and I'm happy as a clam. And this is fantastic. This is also my second Godfather cocktail tonight, so I'm starting to really get into my zone, if you haven't noticed. But anyway,
Well,
no,
and
it's
again,
great.
the reason being the choice that I made to pair the Godfather cocktail with this particular cigar is the fact that it's really, there's a good parallel drawn between the palates. You get a little bit of sweetness from the tobacco itself because as we fire cure in the United States with that hickory wood, it produces a bit of sweetness to the tobacco, which pairs very nicely with the amaretto di Saronno that we have in the Godfather drink. But then also you have the full body of the tobacco and the full bodiness of the whiskey bourbon that kind of negates the body of both, depending on what section of the pairing we're doing. And I'm going to go through those couple sections of the pairings so you can kind of see the differential. And Mitchell, it'll work with you too, even though you're not smoking the master age. It'll still work with you when you do it with the Garibaldi because it'll kind of nullify the tobacco, then it'll nullify the alcohol, etc. So there's always a reason behind the pairings that I choose. Obviously, it's two products that I love. I love the flavor profile of the Toscano tobacco, especially the number 4, which, by the way, is my new favorite Toscano. And it's not a novelty thing because it's new. I just really love the complexity of this particular cigar.
It's like some buttered popcorn. Like, right? Sorry, Mike. There's like some buttered popcorn right here, and it's fucking delicious.
You're right. The flavor profile will really 100% develop into what your palate kind of wants it to develop to.
Yeah.
Not to jump, but I see that somebody just asked, what's the micro fermentation room heated with?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's a great question to whomever asked that. All of Toscano tobacco, our fire curing process is the very same process that happened in 1815, the very first time that we fire cured and rolled Toscano tobacco. So in Italy, we fire cure our tobacco over massive pieces of oak wood in massive ovens that are underground that have flues in them that open up and allow more heat and smoke to come or less heat and smoke to come. So the leaves are on branches and strings over this fire, and the fire itself is lit underneath with these actual delicious notes of oak, honey, and it's fire cured at a specific temperature, and it depends on, before somebody asks me what temperature, it depends on the tobacco, and it also the longevity of being over the smoke. It can be anywhere from 7 to 13 days over the smoke and the heat itself. And throughout that entire time, the leaves are rotated to ensure that the top leaves get the same at the bottom and vice versa.
So it's still a curing barn, though, right? Or it's not a curing barn?
No, it is. It is.
Okay.
It's a curing barn.
All right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a little bit. Toscano has evolved a little bit, and it's not so much like a lot of people when they think of curing barns, they think of just the wood slat curing barns from the old days, which they do use, but in order to keep up with the demand and with technology, they actually did go ahead and create these really gorgeous other curing barns from different building materials other than just the slats of woods. And then in slight contrast regarding the American tobacco, it's the same exact process, only it's really, what did he say? Sounds like a cool tour to take in Italy if that was possible. It's an amazing tour to take. It really is. But like I was saying,
sorry, Mike. Is it open to, like public people can go there and see it, right? It's not like an invitation.
To the factory, yes. To the factory, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. So our factory's in Lucca. We have two factories in Italy. In Lucca, which is outside of Tuscany. Outside of Florence in Tuscany. And then we have another factory where all of this small aromatic tobacco is made in Cava di Terreni outside of the Bay of Naples, the Bay of Napoli.
Okay.
But in contrast, like I said, in Italy, it's massive pieces of oak wood that we fire cure. In the United States, it's sawdust, and a lot of that sawdust has some hickory notes to it, which is why it's much more it's much more crazy, full-bodied mesquite, hickory, molasses compared to the or the Italian tobacco. So in general discussion, the American tobacco is always considered much more full-bodied than the Italian tobacco.
And it's funny because the same C. Shearman, who's been commenting along, thank you for watching the show, is in Tennessee. I've seen them light sawdust and lay plywood over it. Yeah.
So, hey, and that was before I even said that. So there you go. You know I'm not lying to you.
Yeah. So it's true. And I haven't actually seen the fire cured process myself. I've obviously spoken to many people who have and have talked about it. I know Drew Estate. I don't know if they still do the Kentucky one. I don't think they're doing it this year, but I know one of their barn smoker events was in Kentucky, and they would actually show you the whole fire curing process, and people would actually get to go and see them do that. They would do the curing right there, and they'd start the fire, and they'd smoke out the curing barn, and people would actually get to see that process, which I think is amazing because, you know, Kentucky fire cured, or any fire cured tobacco for that matter, it is a tobacco I do enjoy, and I was talking to Mitchell about this. It's, you know, it's something that I don't smoke every day. Which is not like by design, but you know, unfortunately, you know, fire cured cigars are like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction when it comes to cigars. I mean, you got the premium cigars, you got all cigars, you got fire cured, you know what I mean? And there's just so many more like other cigars that we end up smoking and stuff. And you know, when I come back to fire cured, I run into this every single time, and it's always like I light one up and I go, fuck. I'm like, why don't I smoke these more? Like, I love them so much. It's so different. It's nice to, like, have a break from, you know, those other conventional cigars. And it's such a different flavor profile. It's such a different experience. It is so enjoyable. It's almost, especially, like, when you've been smoking straight regular cigars for months and months and months, especially when you do stuff like we do, where we're smoking stuff constantly because of, you know, everything we got going on. That when I get to light up something like this, it really is a breath of fresh air. It's something different. And I'm like, damn, this is so good because it's just so unique. And the flavor on it is different, very different than, you know, other stuff that's out there that we generally smoke. And so I get excited about this because it's like looking at every other cigar and being like, I'm done with you for right now. This is something different, and I can really I can sink my teeth into it and get into it. The Kentucky fire cured process is something that I do find fascinating, and it's something that I haven't seen myself, but I'd love to see that process because I believe in it, and I believe that it's truly unique. And I know, Mike, I'm gonna bring this up, and I know you'll be able to bounce off of this, but you know, especially, you know, when people smoke Toscanos, or I introduce people to Toscanos actually pretty frequently, whether it's a new cigar smoker or it's someone who kind of dabbles in cigars, and I'm like, hey, you should try Toscano, or anyone who mentions pipe. I always direct them at Toscanos because I'm like, hey, if you like that flavor, or if you like pipe tobacco, you should try Toscano cigars because I really think you'll enjoy them. Because obviously there's a lot of parallels between the two. And as you know, there's people who buy Toscanos and they chop the cigars into chunks and put them in their pipe and smoke them that way, which is not uncommon to do. So, and I see you over there. You the Toscanellos. Oh, those are great. Those are fire, dude.
So
Aroma Cafe.
Literally, what I the Aroma Cafe. What I do
it's the
is,
best.
you know, if for whatever reason, if I have the Toscanello in the car and they, you know, something hits them and they break, or if they're, you know, I just have extras, I'll crunch them up and I'll put them in this, and this will be my pipe tobacco that I use to smoke.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Perfect.
Mitchell, have you ever dabbled in pipes?
Yes, actually, that's what I started with.
Oh, that's right. You did.
Smoking any premium cigars, I started with premium pipe tobacco from a local tobacconist. They were blending a lot of their own stuff, or at least like they were private blends. And I explored the world of that. I wasn't like super into it. Like I didn't get into like the percentages of every single different, you know, like a lot of Kia and the this and that. And I mainly stuck to aromatic blends. Like I never really got into like the heavy English blends and stuff like that. But yeah, so I actually started with pipes. That was what I started with. I have about 3 or 4 pipes still, Occasionally I'll dabble in a little bit, but you're right. This definitely has that unique essence that is like a very different flavor, but still um it's still really good. Like it's still like so this is actually the first time I've ever smoked a Toscano.
Really? I thought you had one.
Yeah. No, I've never smoked a Toscano. This is the first time. And, obviously knowing that it is fire cured and people are always like, oh, fire cured. This is not overly fire cured. The sweetness and the balance, it's really good. It's actually really, really good. The draw is great. The burn's great. It's staying lit. Like you said, I don't know why. I've never approached them before, but yeah,
Mike,
this
I
is
have to
really
be
good.
honest with you too. I'm gonna light him up on his birthday, but I got to do this because he just opened the door. I got to walk in. He texted me
Do
this
it.
morning, and he said, or it might have been yesterday, but it doesn't matter. He texted me within the last 24 hours, and he said, "Hey, do you think that the Toscano is gonna like fry my palate out?" And I was just like, "You'll be fine." And he admitted and said, "I know. Sometimes I'm just a baby."
Well, and again, when you look at a Toscano cigar from inception, if it's your first one, that's your first thought process. Ooh, this looks like a really powerful cigar. It's going to be too much. I don't really think every first-time Toscano cigar smoker has it, and then they have the exact reaction that Mitchell had. They take a puff and they're like, "Oh my god, this is not what I thought it was. This
It's
is
more
crazy."
refined than they anticipated.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And the amount of sweetness, like you said, must come from that like using those specific woods for the curing process, because it actually has a very nice amount of that natural sweetness to it that is really nice, kind of that honeysuckle-esque kind of sweetness.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because ultimately, Mitchell, the cigar that you're smoking, the Toscano Garibaldi, is composed of a lot of tobacco from Benevento, which is southern Italy, and the fields to which the tobacco is harvested in Benevento fall within the shadow of Mount Vesuvius. So they say that back during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, it changed the acidity in the soil itself, which then produced a much sweeter tobacco. So it's interesting that you just said that without me even giving you a hint that tobacco should be a little bit sweeter, that you tasted it. Good palate and good catch on the Toscano tobacco.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, that's something that I know we've talked about with, Nick Perdomo was on the show last week, for those who saw the show, and I know that I've had conversations with Nick, both on and off the show, about soil. Like,
Yeah.
and it's funny because you would, there's a lot of people that be like, oh, that sounds boring. It's not. The soil is so important. When you talk about making cigars, whether it's Toscano or it doesn't matter what it is. When you grow tobacco, you always hear about, from seed to smoke. Well, that seed in the ground, the growing process, the soil, before you even take those leaves and harvest them, before you even put them in the barn, before you age them, before you roll them, forget all that. You're just looking at the field, the tobacco out in the field that's growing, the leaves, whatever. When it's in that soil, it's in the sun, it's exposed to the weather, the elements, whether it's under the cheesecloth, it's shade grown, whatever. But the plants themselves, they grow out of the soil and they're fed with water. Okay? You got to water the plants and they get nutrients from the soil. And it's a big part of the reason why we talk about Cuban cigars and Cuban tobacco. You talk about Nicaraguan cigars and Nicaraguan tobacco. The same with Dominican, Ecuador, Connecticut shade. There's a little bit of Peruvian. You talk about Honduras. The Aroa family grows a lot of Corojo in Honduras, and they're all different. And the biggest part of it is the geographical location, because different parts of the world, different soil, different exposure of sun, amount of rainfall. We have Connecticut grown tobacco, an hour and a half away from me and down in Connecticut River Valley. There's tobacco that's grown there, and it's some of my favorite tobacco in the whole world. And sometimes in Connecticut they have too much rainfall or whatever, and it affects the yield. And those are real things, and those are the things that affect not only like how much you get, it affects how it tastes, how it burns, how oily the tobacco is. There's so many different things. So it's funny to talk about this because I feel like it's such an important topic, especially when you talk about flavor, because that flavor
Yeah.
is partially heavily impacted just by the soil that it was grown in. And then, Mike, you throw out that thing about Mount Vesuvius changing the soil. I mean, that's a big deal. And I know a lot of cigar makers out there who would definitely chime in on that.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, even if you look at the Italian tobacco for Toscano, right? So, I mean, we're in 5 different regions. Each region, kind of like what you said, is very similar to the wine and olive oil industry too. You don't have the same grapes, have the same acidity in those wines. Same thing with the olive oil. It's all very, very much. That's why the Italian peninsula is so blank palette to see where the best tobacco can be grown, because ultimately each one of those regions produces a different flavor, different body, different this. So very artistic, artisanal, and passion filled. Because you think about it, of course, everything in Italian. Matt Mitchell, you guys are Italian, so you understand we have to compete no matter what we do.
Yep.
Each region says they have the best tobacco, and they strongly believe that because that's their passion behind each and every leaf that's produced, you know. And when you talk about Toscano tobacco itself, seed to shelf, I mean, you mentioned that before, seed to smoke, seed to shelf. I mean, it's a real thing. And the fire curing process and the natural fermentation of water that we use for our tobacco, it's such a labor-intensive process. And on top of it being incredibly labor-intensive, it's filled with love and passion. Each and every one of the Toscano cigars that's rolled is a unique piece of art. It's a cigar that's lasted 208 years, 2 world wars, even after some, you know, the factory was bombed in Lucca, they still go. I mean, it's really, there's some historical significance to the cigar you're smoking. So for those that are on the show and those that'll listen after, if you've never smoked Toscano before, Mitchell, this is for you too. Toscano before, and today's your first day. Don't see it as a cigar. Just realize that you're smoking a piece of history, a piece of love, and a piece of something that is so much greater than we ever will be. And that's just a real sentiment to take.
Yeah. Yeah, you can taste the history. And again, like you said, we're all Italian here, and it's amazing kind of being able to smoke something that, who knows, I'm very far generationally removed from Italy. Over 100 years is the last time anyone from my family lived there permanently. But you never know. Like I could have had family members that helped start this, or lived in the region, or even enjoyed them themselves, right? And I'm
Absolutely.
smoking something that they had over 100 years ago. So
Hey, my last name's Tobacco, and that goes back to Italy. So I mean, who fucking knows what happened over there with my people?
So do you realize that I didn't pick up on until, I don't know what, we've known each other I've been with the company 5
Several years.
Let's say we've known each other for 4 years, 5 years. It was probably 2 years ago that I realized that Tobacco was your actual last name.
Yeah, you know what's funny, and I texted you this today, and I don't have it with me because I put them in this nice leather case, I have to admit. But the box that the Garibaldi was in, I got it, and I was sitting at my desk, and I was looking at it, and it said 100% Tobacco, Kentucky, and it was spelled Tabacco, which is how our name is legally spelled, right? And it's funny because I've seen it obviously spelled Tobacco, and I have seen it spelled Tabaco, which I think is the Spanish spelling, or it can be a Spanish spelling. But I've never seen it spelled like directly the same way as my name. And I got excited because I'm like, oh shit! Like for once, that's actually the spelling of my last name on a piece of like actual tobacco, like product.
Right.
And your answer was, well, it's because it's in Italian. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I hadn't seen it like on something before, and I was all excited. I'm like, oh shit, there it is.
Yeah.
It was great. It was really great. So, but yeah, no, people still don't believe me. Matt Booth still tells everybody he doesn't believe me, and he calls it my government name, and he uses the air quotes, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
Well, really, I'm serious. I didn't really know that was your real last name until a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh shit, that's actually his last name. That's
It's okay.
damn cool.
You're not the only one. I still had people I've known for just as long as you, maybe even like slightly longer, that at just this past trade show a few weeks ago were like, is it really? And I'm like, wait, you still don't know that after all this time? And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it is.
Now your wife just decided to take your fake last name.
Yeah, I even got my wife in on the gag.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got the marriage certificate. You want to see it? I mean, it's legit.
That's fun.
Sorry, excuse me.
Before we jump into the pairing, how is Nicole feeling? Because like, listen, we had Matt and I had this conversation yesterday. Like, when it comes to us, obviously it's a show about cigars. It's about the Master Age number 4, Toscano, etc. But it's also, we're real people, and it's just great to hear amazing news that you're expecting. Anastasia is the name. Is that correct? Am I correct in that?
That's the name. That we've kind of kept on the DL, but yeah, that's the name.
Oh,
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh God, Nicole's never gonna talk to me ever again.
No, we were trying super hard, but it might have gotten out there. But yeah, no, it's all good. No, that's the name. That's the name.
So anyway, that name is beautiful. I love it. It's actually the last name of one of a really popular family up here in Scranton. That's actually why I wanted to tell you that. But
oh yeah, no, we so the reason it's not the only reason. I mean, the first reason is that we really liked the name and we wanted something that wasn't mainstream, right? But we also want to get crazy with it, like Gwyneth Paltrow naming her kid Apple. I mean, that's just out there. But
yeah.
we wanted something. But she said to me, it was like, well, I'll tell the story since we're here, because Nicole's maiden name was Fantasia, and which is her, obviously her dad's side. Her dad's the Italian one. Her mother, most people I think at this point know, her mother is Irish, that lives over in the United Kingdom. Nicole grew up in the United Kingdom, but her dad, is American, but his family bloodline is Italian, so that's where her Italian comes from, and the name was Fantasia. So her dad used to joke with her as a child, like, I was gonna name you Anastasia Fantasia. And so when that name came up, we both really liked it, and we were like, yeah, we like that. And then she was like, my dad used to say he was gonna name me this so that my name would be Anastasia Fantasia. And I'm like, yeah, I still like it though.
I'm waiting for a text from Nicole being like, Cap, you're never allowed on this show ever again.
She actually is not watching the show right now because she's with her British family who's in the United States right now. So she's busy with that. So she has no idea what's going on right now.
She may never know.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about it. She will probably go back and watch it and be like, "Oh, what the hell?" But no, she won't. She won't care. She won't care.
100% will, and I'm never allowed on. So.
No. It's all good. Don't even stress about it. It's no big deal. But no, I mean, yeah. So anyway, I forgot where we were going with. Also, fun fact about Nicole's family, just because it's on my mind, and here we are, and it involves Italy. So Mike, you've seen The Sopranos, right?
Yes.
Where was the Soprano family from in Italy?
Oh, God.
Here's some trivia. Who knows the answer?
I don't know the answer.
I don't know.
You guys don't know this? Oh, man.
No.
I'm a diehard Sopranos fan. Avellino.
Oh, I did know that. I knew that.
That's what they all say.
I did know that.
So it's funny because So Sicily. So no, actually, I think maybe partially, but one of the things that they did say on the show was that I don't remember. I don't know the specific, but I know them saying like our family goes back to Avellino in Italy, and it's funny because that's where the Fantasia family, Nicole's family, is from originally. They're from Avellino. So her dad always likes to make the they're like, oh, we're from the same part of Italy the Sopranos are from, which is great. So I do know that part too. I know exactly where her dad's family has come from, Avellino, Italy.
There's a lot of immigrants in this area from Avellino too.
Really?
Well, because you think about it, pre-World War II, a lot of the industry was pulled out of southern Italy and brought up north. So so there wasn't a lot going on. That's why my mom's family came over, because there really was no industry there anymore. So they came to the United States, and like I said earlier, Argentina, by accident, got on the wrong boat to find a better life, and that's kind of the story behind that.
So where are the Cappellinis from?
Umbria.
Okay.
Umbria,
Yeah, the Cappellinis. My dad's family's from Umbria. Both sides of my dad's family's from Umbria. My grandmother is from Gubbio, and my grandfather was from Fossato di Vico, which is in Umbria. And then my mom's father's from Calabria.
So I know that my dad's father was adopted. And we don't really know a lot about his kind of backstory, but I know that my father's mother was from Palermo, Sicily. So I do have some Sicilian. But I know that my dad's father had Italian too, but I'm not exactly sure where he came from. I guess he was adopted, so I'm not entirely sure.
Got it.
But yeah, so I mean, I know that part of it, but that's all I know. And then Mitchell, I think you mentioned where the Santagas are
Treviso
from.
is from my nono, so that's like our name. But then my nonna, she was like more southern parts. I forget exactly where.
There's a lot of Italians up in Canada. There's a real lot of Italians up in Canada.
There is a lot, actually. Yeah, it's a pretty strong Italian population here for sure.
There's a colony up in Canada, much like where I live now. Like, we're a colony from Umbria, from Gubbio. There's a colony up in Canada outside of Toronto that is very, very, very heavily Umbrian too. So yeah, kind of neat.
Very
So
interesting.
do we want to get into the pairing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. So
Enough
the
of Italian
pairing, as
history.
Matt, what's that?
I said enough of Italian history.
Oh no, dude!
It's Italian night. Come on.
I'll still talk
No,
about
I'm just
it.
kidding.
The only thing missing from this show right now is Jeffrey Amendola and Chris Monaco from Amendola Family Cigar Co. My paisans. I mean, if they were here, it'd be the whole thing. It'd be.
Call them the next time. We'll just do like a big Italian night, different areas. And by the way, Matt, since you're so damn close, you guys should come down to the festival that we have every May.
Where is it?
Jessup, right outside of Scranton.
Oh, that'd be two birds with one stone. We get to go to Scranton too, because we love The Office.
If you don't love The Office, we can't be friends.
It's funny. So I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. So that way, So that way, when I've
already said things I shouldn't say on the show, so you go ahead and say whatever you want to say.
Well, this one won't get me in trouble. It's just gonna maybe lightly ruin my own surprise. But I came up with the idea that as long as in the moment I remember to do it, my subtle way of letting people know that it's go time is I'm going to share the clip from The Office on my Facebook page when Pam goes into labor.
I love it.
And Michael's like, "Where's my go bag? Where's my go bag?" And they're like, "There's nothing in it." He's like, "You tell me now?" And then he's like, "Oscar, should I bring a dictionary?" And he's like, "The hospital will provide a dictionary. You should bring a thesaurus." And he's just like scrambling. So that's the clip. When you see me posting on Facebook, that's like, oh shit, they're doing this.
Time.
That's how much we like The Office. So,
yeah, it's a show that I always have on.
What's up,
in the
Skip?
Background.
Yeah, that's like the show when like there's nothing else to watch, but we need something on the TV when we're just sitting in bed at night, just kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
Boom, put on The Office. I got the whole box set on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, my wife yells at me because I'll be downstairs. She'll have it on upstairs, and I'll be quoting it, like yelling up the quotes from downstairs, and she just flips out at me every time that happens. So.
I didn't know we had a tape measure. We don't.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
More office quotes all day.
All day.
All
day.
right, I derailed the pairing once again.
You know what I say to people when they start acting out? I just go, "Why are you the way that you are?" Honestly, I try to make things fun and you make them not that way.
I literally I share that clip, the GIF or whatever the hell it's called on the phone with my friends 24/7 when somebody says something stupid. I'm like, I share the one with Michael Scott. What? Why are you the way you are? It's my favorite thing to do. So okay,
It's the best.
Yeah. It is. It's a great show.
Where were we? I forgot. We've been having such a great
I
time
don't
over
know.
here. We're getting cocked.
Well, that's what happens with the bourbon. So, all right, the pairing. So when I do pairings, I usually do 4 different steps. The first pairing is to understand the cigars. So since you two are smoking a cigar and drinking an alcoholic beverage, Matt, you and I are doing the same one. Mitchell, you're doing
Yep.
one, but not the same. I want us to take a puff of the cigar together, and then a sip of the alcohol, and then another immediate puff of the cigar. So what that does is it gives you a differential in tobacco from the first and second puff. So as you take that first puff, let it sit on the palate, release it, take a sip of the alcohol, let the alcohol sit and penetrate through the smoke, and then go ahead and swallow and take a second puff of the cigar, and it's going to change it completely. So let's go ahead and do that. Puff of the cigar. A sip of the drink.
So good.
And then another puff of the cigar.
Damn.
Now,
that's
Matt,
good.
I'd like to get your little intake on this because obviously mine's going to be different from yours. But
Yep.
did you feel the nullification of the body, like the power of the tobacco in the second sip at first?
So here's the thing. I mean, at the first puff, the cigar is a little bit cooler. So it's like you puff it, take the sip, and then you go right in for I did like kind of a double puff. So the cigar stays relatively hot in that like 7 seconds of like puff, sip, puff again, right? So first puff, kind of, I don't want to say mild, but kind of real simple, right? Real clean. Like good, there's a nice complex flavor there, but it's very subtle. Sip the drink, you're cleaning the palate, and you get that sweetness, and it's delicious. But that cigar is still hot that whole time. Then you go in for that second puff on the finish. Now you're taking a hotter puff off that cigar, and combined with the flavors and taste from the drink, you're now getting just a little bit more, like, I don't want to use the term, but you're just getting like some more beef to it, right? On that second puff. And then with the, you cleanse the palate, you introduce the sweetness, then you go and you take that second puff. The tobacco's a little bit hotter still from before. Now on that clean palate, that hotter flavor comes in, and it explodes. And it's just it's night and day from the first puff to the second puff.
Even now, still, you get a lot more of the hickory on the palate than you did from the initial first puff.
Oh,
And again,
100%.
this is all to kind of get people to better understand the cigar, because a lot of people think, especially with the cigar that looks simplistic like ours, even though these are very complex, they look simplistic. When you do the 4-step pairing with them, it just changes their discussion almost completely. It changes their thought process about the cigars. So, and the number 4 in particular with the micro-fermented wrapper, it really it steps up the cigar even 2 or 3 more steps than like the Garibaldi, for example, if you will, because I know that Mitchell's smoking the Garibaldi. So that's the first step. So now that we understand the tobacco a little bit, let's go ahead and do the drink. So again, it's a great way to get knuckled too. So take a sip of the drink.
So good. Sorry, that sounds my whiskey stone rolling over in the glass because I'm already at the bottom because I've been drinking this all night.
Puff of the cigar. You're not alone. Really changed the cigar. I taste a little anise in the cigar there. I don't know if you do or not. I taste a little anise or clove in the cigar now.
You know, it's funny. I did in the beginning.
Again, those earthy tones, the different spices, especially anise, clove.
There it is. I got it now.
Yeah, not anise like a sip of Zambuca, but the natural anise that comes in the fire cure itself is what I'm talking about. It's not like taking a sip of Black Sambuca or something like that.
Or
It's
like
more
having
of
it
a
when it's
subtle-
like baked in like a cookie when it's.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I know exactly what you
And
mean.
something else you're getting too with this part of the pairing is the burning sensation down your throat. I always get a little burning sensation here.
I
Whenever
didn't get
do
any
these
burn.
events, it's there.
I got no burn.
I'm burning right now. And it's fun. So usually when I do the events, it's people saying, I didn't get it until you just said it. So thank you for that.
I still don't got it. I got no burn. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something. I don't know.
The
It's good.
The Kentucky hug.
That's very. Yeah, I have to say this is very delicious. And I know you've been on before and we've done this cocktail. That's how I know about it, and I love
Yes.
this. But obviously we haven't done it with the Master Age 4 because it just came
Yeah.
out. But I think you're right. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, as someone who has, let me think about it for a quick second. I think I've smoked every Toscano, all the Toscanellos. I've had the Garibaldi. I've had all the Master Aged. I've had all the other. I think I've had all of them. Even the Still Novo, which I love, but you guys don't have that anymore.
No.
That was fucking awesome. Oh, the only one I haven't had is the Ducento. I haven't had a Ducento.
Oh, dude.
It's
If
the
I
only
knew that, I
one.
would've- You have to. The Duecento's unbelievable. That was my number one Toscano before the number 4 came out.
That's the only one I haven't had. So I think it's safe to say I think this might be my favorite Toscano. And I love those Toscanellos.
Yeah, the Toscanellos are good.
But
and
this
everybody's
is
afraid to smoke the Toscanellos because they're aromatic, but then you smoke them and you realize, much to your point earlier, it's more like pipe tobacco than it is anything aromatic or flavored. It's very light. It's the fire cure on the palate and the smoke that surrounds you is what you get that aromatic intensity from. So
I try to tell people too, it's not like I know there's infused cigars and then there's like actual flavored cigars. And I think there's some people they see it, they think like, oh, this is gonna be like one of those like flavored cigars that is like way over flavored. And it's gonna be too and I'm like, no. It's gonna be like a regular smoke with like this soft, sweet, flavorful hint that I promise you when you smoke you'll enjoy. And I tell you, I've turned a lot of people onto smoking like regular mainstream cigars by starting them on Toscanos, especially the Toscanellos. I can't tell you how many people I'm like, try these, and they're like, oh my god, this is so good. And they're like, you know what, like 2 maybe 3 people have said to me, and this isn't it might sound like weird, but it's a positive thing. I've had people who come to me and say, oh my god, this is like a much better version of a Black and Mild. And I'm like, well, yeah, because it is a better cigar than a Black and Mild, first of all. But I know what you're trying to say. And
right.
It's better tobacco. It's that real pipey, very aromatic like flavor and taste, but it's not overpowering to the point where it just tastes too artificial. It's very natural, but it's like this little hint. And you're like, oh, and it's just enough to just tickle you a little bit. And you're like, wow, I really like this. But it's not artificial tasting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I tell you, there's a lot of people that I've turned on to it, being like, hey, try these. And they try the Toscanellos, and they fall in love with it, and they've gone on to smoke everything.
Right.
And I stand by that because I think it's a great way to introduce people into smoking tobacco because, especially, like this kind of tobacco, not, other kinds of products. And I think it's a nice way to like kind of get people like creep in the door, and they're like, oh, this isn't so bad. And then then they feel comfortable like just expanding their horizon. It's funny, like you talk them into smoking a Toscanello, and then they love it, and then all of a sudden they want to smoke like everything, and it's just it's so funny.
Yeah. Well, we're really lucky too. I mean, ultimately, Toscano, we're no longer. We had a lot of hurdles at first. There's no question. I mean, the appearance itself was not fun, and we had a very negative connotation toward the product at first, and now it's a whole different discussion. We literally had our best show that we've ever had this past year.
Good to hear.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have worked very hard improperly. Ooh, God,
Uh-oh.
it's all over. Sorry, guys. Hold on.
Look at this rookie over here.
All
He's
over.
never been on a show before.
No, you know what it is? I bought a new stand. I guess I didn't tighten it well enough.
People are just on here watching
guys
us
keep
act out. You know, it's like I'm getting.
A couple of drinks later, here we
I'm
are.
getting tipsy. Mike's dropping his phone.
That was the part. That was actually all part of the show, just so everybody knows. Just so everybody knows, that was 100% part of it.
It's staged.
No, I got this new stand, and it's apparently I didn't put it together right. I guess that's user error. But yeah, we did. We really did have an amazing show, and I think a lot of that has to do with you guys do an amazing job. The cigar media.
Thank you.
You guys do an amazing job, really and truly. And I tell you this all the time. I told you in our interview too, Matt. I mean,
Thank you.
outside of the professional relationship we have, you always go out of your way to make sure that you're in constant contact, and it's something special. And the way that you're able to promote every product is really, it's a gift. So thank you for what you guys do, really and truly.
No days off.
Amazing stuff. No, you don't. And we were having that conversation earlier today, right? I mean, your wife's about to potentially give birth, and you're texting me, hey, I don't know if we're going to be able to do the show. I'm like, Matt, it's okay, I promise. And you're a great guy in every sense, so I appreciate that, and I know that our brand appreciates it too. So thank you so much.
I
And then
carry
on
it
top
with
of-
me like my daddy did. 'Cause I'm living the dream.
that wasn't cool. You used it. And then in addition to that, we did a seminar at the PCA this year, which was really, really awesome. I mean, to get in front of 700 plus people, and talk about the Toscano product, you're hitting people that know nothing about us, and then we're like, oh my God, didn't realize this is what you were. They're coming over to find out more, and they're placing orders. So
I couldn't stay for the whole thing, by the way, but I saw a piece of it, and it was badass. Nice job.
thank you. Yeah, it was fun too, and it was neat. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, to have one of the master blenders for Toscano, Sigaro Toscano, and the CEO of the company we use here in the United States for the American tobacco, to have both of their knowledges combined is really, I mean, how can you go wrong at that, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
really, we were really blessed with that. And again, to give the continued education on our product is what makes it go. And again, you guys are a huge part of that. So I want to, again, thank you. I know I did already, but you guys are really something, because of you, we're able to continue to launch. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always believed in the brand. I met you years ago. You did an event at Two Guys, a shop that means a lot to me. And I know that you mean a lot to them. And I fell in love with the brand. I got to know you. I got to know the brand. I got to smoke the cigars. I like the cigars. Like I said, I wish I smoked them more than I do sometimes, because I do get wrapped up in other things. But every single and this is no BS, every single time I have it, I always go, fuck me. Like, these cigars are good. And it's such a nice change of pace. And, I think they're important. And I think that Toscano cigars, especially all the fire cured cigars, I know Drew Estate does some stuff with fire cured. There's some other brands out there. It's important because it's part of it. We can talk about whatever tobacco that Christian Aroa is working with. We can talk about what tobacco Nick Perdomo is working with, and all that fun stuff, and that's great. But like but this stuff's important too, and there's a lot of reasons behind it, and it is its own little subculture. And to the complete cigar aficionado, I think this is something that if you haven't explored this avenue, you need to. You don't have to like it. If you don't like it, that's fair. But give it a chance. But it'll also, give it a chance and learn about it. And even if you don't love it, as a cigar aficionado or a connoisseur of fine tobaccos, you'll be able to have that in your repertoire of when you just going over to, you can understand, what it is, how it's made, what it tastes like. You can compare it when someone asks you. I still think if you're into cigars and you don't know about Toscano, you should definitely spend a little bit of time and check it out, because you may love it, and even if you don't, it's still very valuable to have.
And again, it's a completely different. It's a different beast. It's a different smoke. It's a different genre. So, if you want to be somebody that wants to really understand tobacco, knowing that Italy's a mass producer. I mean, don't forget, we have 235 million consumers a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge number. 235 million people worldwide per year smoke Toscano. So when you put that into perspective, you realize how big of an economic impact we have in Italy, across the world, and here in the United States. That's why, for me, as an Italian American, a very proud Italian American, to be able to help stimulate these two economies by working for an amazing company like Toscano. And by the way, my team really is amazing. Matt, you got to know some of them. I mean,
Yep.
They really are. We have a great team behind us. We're blessed beyond blessed, and just watching Toscano go from what it was to what it is today is really phenomenal, and it's become part of my life. It's become entwined in my life, just like Toscano does to the Italian culture. And I always say that about the cigar. Italians use Toscano for.
Michael froze a little bit.
Oh.
Let's see if he bounces back. Un momento, por
Whether
favor.
either morning coffee.
Oh,
Oh,
I
he's
think he's
back.
back. He's back now. Sorry, Mike, you froze there for a second. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
We still got you, though. We still got you. It was brief.
Now, a point that maybe not everyone knows about.
Ah, fuck.
Do
Sorry.
all Toscanos need to be humidified, or should they be humidified?
God damn it.
Great question, Mitchell. So here's the answer. Toscano itself does not need humidification because of the leaf. The leaf that we use, both in Italy and the United States, is a water-retentive leaf. So it really holds moisture more than most other tobaccos. In addition to that, once the fire curing and the fermentation happen together simultaneously, once that's done, once the product is ready to be put in the cellophane and boxed, those nutrients and oils that need constant humidification are kind of locked into the leaf, which also cut down on the desire for humidification. The master-aged products, however, we do suggest, it's not mandatory, but we do suggest that you do put that in the humidor simply because of the maturation process, where, as I stated earlier, throughout the entire maturation process, it's kept at a specific temperature and humidity. Okay, does that make sense? So you kind of want to keep that in a humidor if you can. If you don't, it's not going to ruin the cigar, but what happens is you run the risk of cracking the wrapper tobacco. There's a higher risk of cracking the wrapper tobacco.
That makes sense.
So,
Because I know a lot of people, they just love to throw these in their glove box, throw these in their bag to just have.
Yeah.
Most of them, I assume, or if not all of them, are not capped off. So you can, as long as you have a source of fire, you just pull it out, light it up whenever you need to. It's
and to that point, it's always funny because I know Garofalo always talks about this. He and Mr. Jonathan, he and Ed Sullivan, they were together and they didn't have a cigar. And Dave opened up his briefcase and found a box of Toscanos, and he said, "Cap, it was the best cigar I've ever had. Number one, because I love Toscano, and number two, because I didn't have another cigar. I was able to cut the Toscano in half." Because that's what we do. It's a tradition. We cut the cigar in half. We call it El Sigaro dell'Amicizia, or the cigar of friendship. We cut it in half and we shared it together, and it was the best cigar that we could have had at that time. So I always love that story, and I use it fairly often. So the last thing that I'll do before we move on to our next drink, because I saw Matt pouring it and I already started to pour mine because I love myself an Aperol Spritz. If
the bottle overflowed all over the table here.
Listen, if that's the first thing that happens, it's a good day. If Jason Wood from Miami Cigars watching, he'll definitely pull and say, "Oh God, Cap and his spritzes." It's an inside joke that we have. He always makes fun of me because I'm always drinking a spritz. But I want to go ahead, Matt. Let's go ahead and smoke the drink like you were before.
Oh yeah, we got to do that.
I'm gonna smoke the bourbon drink. So, Mitchell, you've never heard me tell this story why I do this. So, the one day I was at a bar and I saw them doing this smoking technique on the drinks, which is fairly common, right? Like that's a thing that happens. So I went and I bought myself a smoker, and I got a bourbon and I put it in and I smoked it. I used a specific wood. It wasn't great. I used another one. It was even worse. So my wife comes out. This is during COVID. My wife comes out. I converted my garage into the Toscano lounge that you see here. I mean, you can only see the back wall, but it's a lounge. And I'm sitting and I'm doing a couple different pairings because I always did a lot of virtual stuff, etc. And she came out and she made me laugh. And when I laughed, the smoke went into my glass. And I was like, wait a minute. This could be something. So that's what I started to do. I started to actually smoke the alcohol with the smoke from the cigar that I was smoking.
There you go.
And what
revolutionary.
That does, especially, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if anybody else would say I'm revolutionary, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and run with that. I like that.
I only have a little bit left, Cap, too.
I do. What's that?
I only have a little bit left in this glass.
I have to pour a little bit more too. So. You know, I do a lot of these, and the one that I always leave feeling the best from in terms of alcohol consumption is with you, Matt. So we have to do this. We have to do this in person rather than via.
We did a little bit at PCA, but that was different.
No, I was just gonna say we said even at PCA, if you remember, I was talking. I'm like, hey, let's try to get a drink, and you're like, yeah, that never happens. It's just so much stuff happens, and it doesn't.
It's just I know. Oh, is he freezing again? There we go.
Did I lose you again?
No, you're good.
Oh, you're good.
Did I get you? Good. Yeah, we got some storms moving through the area, so that's probably what we got going on.
It's all good. We'll power through.
So, all right. So to smoke the alcohol, those that are watching who haven't before, go ahead and take a sip of the alcohol. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a puff of the cigar and drop the smoke on the glass. You're not going to blow it into the glass. You're going to drop it. So watch.
There you go. It just drops right in there.
Just drops right on. So it creates that nice thick cloud of smoke. Go ahead and give it a little stir.
Around.
By the way, this is a cigar glass. I'm sure you can see the hole in it. It's supposed to hold a cigar. My brother-in-law, James, bought that for me. And then you very gently remove your hand, so you still have that cauldron-like thing. By the way, Halloween's coming up. This is a great thing to do at a cigar party for Halloween. Turn the glass a little bit. Let some of the smoke dissipate from the glass. And then go ahead and take a sip before all the smoke is gone. And what you get with the Di Serono and Amaretto and the bourbon is just a sweet cherry bomb. The bourbon is gone.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no more alcohol to it. It's just a sweet cherry bomb. That's all it's left.
It's no burn, no alcohol. It's like cherry syrup, and but like a good cherry syrup. It's just right in.
It's awesome.
It's so good.
I know it. It's awesome.
I learned that from you, and I've never forgotten it.
Well, that's good. At least I leave one good impression on people. I'll take it.
Well, it's not the only one.
All right. So, Matt, should we hop over to the Garibaldi now?
Let's do it.
I've still got a good amount of mine. I'm almost done my spritz, but I've been kind of keeping notes.
I got champagne all over. I was able to blot some of it up with some. I had a roll of toilet paper I used over there as like tissues. And I was like, oh, at least I had that. So I got most of it up. But, I mean, it's... You know when champagne gets spilled or it gets sprayed? And then after a while, it just starts to smell. That's what's going to happen here, like in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's just going to smell funky because it
dries and it gets... Yeah, I'm with you.
Anyway.
So as Matt lights his cigar...
Sorry. Yes.
No. It's all good. As Matt lights his cigar, I'll tell you, and again, Toscano's my go-to product. Mitchell, for me, after smoking the number 4, moving into this, that sweetness that you mentioned earlier really comes to full fruition. It's crazy. It's a completely different blend, which is another reason why people should smoke Toscano, because our portfolio, with the amount of cigars that we have, our portfolio provides a cigar for every smoker. You know what I mean? We have very light-bodied cigars. We have very full-bodied cigars. We have everything in between. And we also have that aromatic line, the Toscanellos that we talked about. And the aromatic line is really nice because it's got delicious notes of chocolate, coffee, almond, sweet espresso, dark espresso, anice, which is anise or sambuca, grappa, which is Italian moonshine, and vanilla and cinnamon. So, but again, there's subtle notes of these aromatic intensities. It's not overpowering to the palate. You get the fire cure on the palate, and you get a really nice smoke that surrounds you in whatever aromatic intensity you're looking for.
For sure. Yeah, it's a nice portfolio, and like you said, there's something for everyone.
Forgot how good those are.
No, this is a really, really good cigar.
You know what's funny? The Garibaldi, it's like very classic when I taste it. When I smoked the Master Age 4, that's a complete different beast.
Oh, it is. It 100% is, and it's designed that way, man.
Yeah,
it's designed that 100%. And you know what's great about? We were talking before. I think it was Matt that said that he likes to turn people on to Toscano and really cigar smoking in general by having them start with a Toscanello. I use the Garibaldi.
Nice.
The Garibaldi for me is the cigar that I turn when people come up to me at events and say,
quintessential.
Hey, yes. What do you think I should try for my first Toscano? It's always the Toscano Garibaldi. And the Garibaldi itself, we talked about the historical significance of Toscano, etc. This has a lot of historical significance. It's named after Giuseppe Garibaldi, who was the hero of the two worlds. Giuseppe Garibaldi invaded the south of Italy, Vittorio Emanuele III from the north. They met in the middle. They cut the cigar in half. This blend of Toscano at that time, it wasn't the Garibaldi at that time, but now it is, cut it in half and shared the cigar, and that unified the Italian peninsula. So that's why they named this particular cigar the Toscano Garibaldi, after Giuseppe Garibaldi, who helped unify the Italian peninsula.
There you go. Amazing. And like I said, my nonna are from the northern and southern parts of Italy as well. So
They unified their relationship, and here you are.
There you go. Yeah, no, I get nice notes. Like I said, that sweetness. There's a bit of that kind of rich wood. I get like a hint of nuttiness, and on the retro,
100%.
there isn't a ton of pepper, but it is like a mild kind of spice-esque. Like
it's more a white pepper than it is a dark black pepper.
Yeah. It's like a lighter pepper, like closer to a white pepper, but really nice. And like I said, I kind of already gone through those 4 stages. I haven't smoked. Do you smoke the Spritz as well? You do that and like the We'll do that.
We'll do that in a minute. One of the stages too, and honestly, because we already did the first and second stage, Matt, we'll go into the third one that I didn't do with the last drink, and that's cleansing the nasal palate. And this is one of the most important parts of the pairing session. Sometimes doing this with a bourbon can actually hurt the nose. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take a sip of the alcohol. We're going to suck air over the alcohol and blow the air, not the alcohol, key point here, out our nose. And what that does is that refreshes the nasal palate. So you're almost going to go like when you have a wine and you want to aerate the wine in your mouth, you suck the air over it. That's what you're going to do here. So we're going to do it together. You're going to exhale through the nose. You're going to get a lot of the Aperol on your palate, but more the Prosecco or champagne through your nose. And then take another puff of the cigar and see how it's changed. And if you retrohale. The retrohale.
Wow. Strong citrus on the retrohale.
Big time. Citrus and a sweet cream almost. There's a little bit of sweet creaminess to the cigar itself.
It's a nice
Really?
retrohale. I'm not a big retrohaler, but I was like, I'll do it anyway. That was a really nice retrohale.
It amplifies the retro for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot more to it
Well,
after
and
kind of cleansing.
to that point, if you were to be smoking the number 4, for example, or the Toscano 200, Matt, if you cleanse your nasal palate and then retrohale after, you're going to get a hit of black pepper like you can't believe. It might make your eyes water. That's how strong the clean palate absorbs that black pepper sensation from the cigar.
Now again, for me, doing those first 2 steps on puff, drink, puff, like I already mentioned originally, those notes for the Garibaldi. The second puff, I notice a much stronger wood forward note. And that kind of that natural sweetness of the Prosecco kind of mutes out a bit of those sweet and nutty notes, and that definitely that wood comes forward, and you get a bit of that nice Aperol bitterness that lingers on the palate as well. And
Absolutely.
it's really nice. It really brings those other notes forward.
Well, and something else too to think about. Sorry, I didn't realize it got as dark as it did. Something else too. I mentioned that it kind of nullifies it doesn't nullify the complexity of the cigar, but it nullifies the body of the cigar. When you have a puff, drink the alcohol, and then have another puff, you're still going to get a lot of those, because Matt kind of touched on that before. He's like, well, I actually get a lot more pepper, and that's supposed to happen. But the body itself, like that when it hits the palate, the initial puff of the Toscano tobacco hits the palate for a person. Sometimes
feels lighter.
Like, oh my God. Yes, that's exactly right. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit more nullified, but it increases the complexity of the cigar itself.
Yeah, for sure. It's really nice. What kind of Prosecco are you using?
I am using this is a newer Prosecco. Newer, I mean, in the last 5. At least I've only discovered it in the last 3 or 5 years. Lunetta.
I'm using a Prima Perla Prosecco Treviso.
Nice.
I use one. We don't have like a huge option for Prosecco here. I think maybe we have about like 5 or 6 main importers, but one that's pretty popular here is Villa Teresa Prosecco. It's a nice organic Prosecco.
Nice.
Really good.
I've never had it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, Lunetta. I don't know why Lunetta, because I used to buy La Marca, which is what a lot of people get.
I like that.
Is delicious. Yeah, it's delicious. But Lunetta for me, Matt, try the Lunetta if you can find it. It's good.
I will. Yeah, the La Marca is one that
we get La Marca up here.
We buy a lot of. Not lately, but for obvious reasons. But I know it's a popular one for Nicole, especially. It's great. It's not too expensive. It tastes great. Really enjoyable to drink by itself, or it's great to mix with stuff. But yeah, I'll try that out. It's good to know.
Before I run out, I'm gonna try just smoking this.
Oh yeah. So let's do that together before you do run out. Now you're not gonna have the impact that you do with the bourbon and the Di Serrano, but it's still gonna be good. So take a sip of what you have first, and then smoke it, and let it drop on the glass. That's the biggest thing. Let it drop.
As we stir, mix it in like a cauldron.
You really only get the Aperol. There's no Prosecco left. Just Aperol.
Who, me?
No. I'm saying
flavor-wise.
No. The flavor profile.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, Matt, that's a good one. You nailed it.
I've done this a few times. I learned it from you.
Now I'll tell you too.
Party trick.
I always go Aperol heavy on my Aperol Spritzes. I love Aperol.
I went heavy too.
Yeah.
I went heavy.
What cracks me up is on the back. Like, if you ever notice on the back of the bottle,
Jesus,
that's
good.
It has the what to do. Like the middle's the good one. That one's the bad one. I'm always the bad one.
Yours is always dark.
Mine doesn't have that one.
I think I just bought this today. I think this is the new thing. And I also think that if you remember, Aperol was hard to find at one point during COVID.
So do you do a 1-to-1 then?
Or
do you even go higher than Aperol?
No, I go higher. I usually go I think normal. What's the recipe on the back? I think it's 1 to 2.
Well, and then there's a little bit of soda water, but I didn't use soda water.
Mine, what I read on their site was, I'm gonna use milliliters because that's what I read. 75 mLs of Prosecco, 50 mLs of Aperol, and then a dash of that. So you're looking at one to 3/4.
I do the opposite. I do more Aperol. What I do is I put 3 parts Aperol, 2 parts Prosecco, a splash of Club, and then I put another splash of Aperol on top.
There you go. I actually used a splash of tonic soda.
How was that?
It's nice.
It's
nice.
I was gonna grab a Topo and use a little bit of like Topo Chico, but I forgot, so I had to go just straight up. But it's okay. I think I did that last time because I remember like that idea came to me and I was like, oh, I think that's what I did last time because we made this one before together.
Now
I think I put a little bit of Topo Chico in there.
Yeah.
Have you ever done this pairing with? Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Have you ever done these pairings with grappa or like grappa?
All the time.
Did Mitchell just freeze now?
I think so.
Oh shit! What happened?
I'm glad it's not me.
Oh.
I'm glad it's not.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh, I'm back. Maybe.
Oh. There he is. We got him.
We heard with grappa and then we lost you. So what's
okay?
The other?
So yeah, my with grappa or like grappa infused fruits. So as a kid, my nono he made wine in grappa, and then he would take like cherries or any like fruits that he would grow, and then he would like throw the fruits in the grappa and prank kids by making them eat them and watch them just like just become disgusted because it's grappa. And I actually enjoy grappa, but yeah, it's always funny. Have you ever done a grappa-esque pairing or around with some of the Toscano stuff? Because I know it's a very unique flavor and very strong.
Yeah. So a lot of the times what I do when I do grappa, we had a partnership. We still do have a partnership with Grappa Nonino in Italy. I would always do something like the Originale or the 200 or the Extra Vecchio, a much more full-bodied cigar to pair with the grappa, so it doesn't nullify the cigar as much as like doing a pairing, for example, with the grappa and the Garibaldi. Probably not going to be the best pairing because the grappa is going to overpower the Garibaldi.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's always with the more full-bodied cigar that I do the more.
Yeah.
That's why, like, even the normal bourbon, like if we just did the Woodford Double Oaked that I had today with the number 4, that would have been a great pairing too. But I wouldn't do the Woodford Double Oaked with the the Classico would work with like a Toscanello, for example. It wouldn't be as powerful.
Yeah.
With the impact of the palate wouldn't be as powerful. So.
I remember the last time we did that, when we did the bourbon, I think I used a Weller Special Reserve, which is wheated. But another good one would be like Maker's Mark, which is also a wheated bourbon, because it has that natural sweetness to it already, being with using the wheat, being wheat dominated in the mash. So I think then you add the Di Serono to it, man. And I remember that's what I did last time, and it was even more amazing because you already had a sweeter bourbon that you mixed with it, which is also a little tip out there for other people.
Yeah, the when I use Maker's Mark, I was just showing the bottle. I use the cast strength.
That's a good
Maker's
bottle.
Mark.
Yeah, that's a good bottle.
And it's real nice with the Di Serono. It's not too it doesn't cut so much. It's really nice. And that's the beauty of this. So like, I gave you guys 2 pairings tonight for fun. But what I tell everybody, because a lot of people after events, they'll come and they'll ask me, "Hey, does this pair well? Does it?" It depends on 2 things. Number one, how adventurous and how outside the box you want to go as a cigar smoker and a guy or girl who pairs. And then number 2, realistically, what your palate's going to tell you. That I can't tell you 100% what your palate's going to tell you. So, like, for me to tell you should 100% taste only this, it's wrong. I can guide you along the pairing, but everybody's palate is different. It's at different stages in life. A guy or woman who's been smoking for 30 years is going to have a completely different palate than myself. It's just how it is. A person who smokes a Maduro compared to a Connecticut or any of the other lighter tobaccos is going to have a completely different sensation than we are. So it's
Right.
it's a completely different discussion to be had.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and these 2 pairings tonight were great, and I have to say I enjoyed both of them really well, almost evenly. I mean, they were both these were perfect pairings, and I just want to say thank you, Mike, for putting them together and for being here. I mean, they're really, it was delicious, just such an experience to enjoy, and I hope that other people can take from this and can see it for themselves, because it really is. It's very enjoyable when you get the right pairing. The entire experience is elevated. It's multiplied. A lot of times when I smoke a cigar, I don't really drink a lot during the week. It's just kind of me. So I smoke a cigar and I don't really have a thing with it. But when I do, and it's the right pairing, you know, it really is. It's something special, for at least for me. I mean, and it's really enjoyable. And I enjoyed both of these extremely well.
Well, I always say, good alcohol, good cigars, better company. What else do you want?
Yeah, I know. You can't beat it.
What else?
We can't
And
beat
then,
it.
when you talk about
Perfect
Toscano
evening.
too, I have to give this plug because it's something that I've realized that's so important to understand. So for Toscano, Mitchell, I don't know if you knew this. We have 40 female cigar rollers in our Lucca factory that roll 520 cigars per roller per day on average.
Wow.
So these women are the backbone of our company. Without the female touch, without the female existence, we would be nobody. And I always throw that out there, especially in such a male-dominated industry. Women are imperative to the existence of who we are. As an industry and as a cultivation, from the agricultural and cultivation side, they are the backbone of many companies, not just Toscano, but I can speak only for Toscano. Without them, we'd be nobody. So I always get the question, well, why do only women roll the cigars? I've tried. It was an absolute disaster. I wouldn't suggest trying on your own. For those who were at the PCA show, you were able to see. We had Maura there who was rolling all the cigars. I know
I did.
Matt was shot. We kind of did the interview in front of Maura there, so it was neat to see. But that process itself is an interesting process to see in comparison to the rest of the way that other cigars are rolled. So I'll leave our viewers and those who watch in the future, if you haven't tried Toscano yet, please do so. We're not trying in any way, shape, or form to overtake any other cigar that you have. We just want to be put in your portfolio. Matt, Mitchell, both of them said at the end of the day, it's a great cigar to have. It's an offsetting cigar, but it's something that eventually does become a cigar that you enjoy and really put into your everyday smoke. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to friend me on Facebook. I'm always happy to respond. And I just thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for the friendship, number one, and for what you guys do as a cigar media for the industry. It's something special. You guys are a huge part of who we are. So thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that, Michael. I really appreciate it. It's really nice of you to say. And couldn't do it without the rest of the team. So they all do a great job as well, which makes us all look great. So thank you to everybody at Smokin Tabacco. But yes, thank you. And it's a pleasure. We do it because we love to. And it's not always easy, but in the general sense, it's easy because we love it, right? So it's why we're here. So thanks for being on the show tonight. We're going almost 2 hours. This is almost spare notes territory. It's a long show. The show's usually a little more than an hour. We went with a little bit of the distance tonight, but it was worth it because of what we covered. So definitely, I'm happy we did. But just thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this with us again. I know this is, I think, like your third or fourth time on the show, so it's always fun to have you on. And I know you get to come back on in a couple of months, so we get to do this again, which is great. Which I think that show is going to be completely different pairings, which we haven't finalized yet. We're working on it, but I did mention the idea of maybe doing something with wine. I don't know. We'll see.
Yes.
Yes. So try to do something different for the next one, so that way it's kind of a very different show. So when we have those details, we'll give them to you. But we're still a few months away, so we're still working on that one. So thank you for everyone who followed along, by the way, and watched and listened to us, or if you're listening to us later, thank you. One thing I do need to mention, we are doing a giveaway with our friends at JC Newman. That's right, JC Newman. Giving away 3 vintage JC Newman vintage cigar ashtrays. To get in on that, you can go to smokintabacco.com. I will post the link in the comment section after the show. I'll wait. And you can find it there. But if you head to smokintabacco.com, you can find the page for it. There's a like an article or a post for it. And it's pretty simple. You just subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast from. Or you can sign up for our email newsletter. You can get entered to win, and JC Newman will ship those to you. And 3 lucky winners will be selected next week. So don't miss out on that. It's really cool. It's really fun.
Gotta hit that up.
Hit it up. Hit it up. I will share the link. Don't worry. But Mike, that's gonna be our show tonight. And like I said, thank you for being here. Thanks for doing this. I know you do these pairings all the time, so I know you're pretty good at it, and you've shown that here today. So very delicious drinks. The cigars are fantastic, and they paired well together.
Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely. Sorry, a phone call was coming in. And other than that, I'm trying to think. No spare notes this week. That won't come back till next weekend. So next weekend, stay tuned for spare notes. We don't think we have any other announcements. Mike, anything you wanted to mention before we sign off?
No, just like I said, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate this partnership, this friendship. If you haven't gotten Toscano yet, go ahead. If you haven't given Smokin Tabacco the opportunity, you better start, because you're missing out on it.
Oh,
They're
so
a great
nice.
team. They're a family, and that's something that Toscano's attracted to, that familial sense. So, and I just wish you and Nicole the best on the birth of your upcoming baby, and love you guys very much.
Oh, we love you too, Michael. Thank you very much. And I've definitely
thank
learned.
you.
I've learned a lot from you as you've been going through this almost recently yourself. Yeah. And Mitchell has a child, and Kevin has kids. So I'm like the last one to the group here. Everyone else already has kids, and they're all teaching me. I mean, I texted the boys today, like, I don't know, today might be the day, and they're like, So, I mean, I have everyone around me who kind of has some experience, which is good. I'm not,
Yeah.
So when the going gets tough and I start to get scared, I got plenty of people to be like, it's okay, don't worry.
Hey, and Mitchell, thank you for joining us from up north. Really appreciate you, buddy.
Of course, yes. Thank you. That was a delicious pairing.
On his
like I said.
birthday, he should be out
On your
partying.
birthday, you should be
I
out
am.
partying.
I'm here partying.
He's working.
You're all right. You're all right in my book. You're okay.
I was gonna give him the night off, but I said, nah, you can't miss this one.
Well, I hope we see you soon, buddy. Really, it was a pleasure.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, if I ever can get down to Pennsylvania, I don't know about the next couple of months. I might have my hands full. But eventually, yeah, we'll get down to your neck of the woods and we'll do some stuff. We'll check it out. But guys, that's going to be our show for tonight. Thank you for listening and watching. If you're listening later, thank you. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. And don't forget to visit SmokinTabacco.com for the latest news, cigar reviews, our 2023 PCA coverage brought to you by Drew Estate, and everything else that we do here at Smokin Tabacco. And we'll see you next week. Take care.